I just wanted to talk about how sustainability is different for everyone. If you've seen the headlines this year, we've had an assortment of climate calamities on the menu. Our starters were floods in Bihar, West Bengal, and this was paired with cyclones in Maharashtra, Goa, Kerala, and the state I like to call my home, Karnataka. The main course were heat waves in Delhi, Rajasthan, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, and drought-like conditions in Rajasthan, Gujarat, Odisha, and for dessert, we had forest fires in Odisha and Uttarakhand. And I'm not saying all of this to cause panic amongst all of you. I'm saying this so that it serves as a reminder of what people have to face every single day. The climate crisis is not a dystopian novel anymore. It's a lived reality for millions of people. My own grandparents, who are farmers, have had to face the water crisis. There were nights when my grandmother would wake up in the middle of the night just to get water for the fields. My mother had to fetch water from a well every single day before she left for school. In short, they did not have access to basic necessity of water. My own house has been flooded several times because of heavy rains. However, there was a time, even knowing all of this, I did not realize the hardships that were of all of this and how they were related to the climate crisis. Because while my school taught me about the ozone layer and having holes, they did not teach me about how my life would soon be placed in jeopardy. When I finally connected the dots between the climate crisis and my personal life, I still only had access to a very, very whitewashed version of the issue at hand. I thought I needed to carry a tote bag and that I shouldn't be buying fast fashion and that I should eat more plant-based and that I should compost or that I should recycle. And I still do all of these things. But I got it from a blog called 10 Things You Can Do to Save the Planet. And I did do all of those things. I'm vegan, I compost, I recycle, I take the public transport, I don't buy clothes, I borrow, upcycle, thrift, or buy slow fashion. And my tote bags are actually very cute. But the air quality index did not get better. The floods and the forest fires continued to worsen. I didn't realize that there was more to the story than what I was, and that I was not doing enough. And this was until I learned that just 90% of 90 companies are responsible of 2/3 of historical greenhouse gas emission. Did this mean that my recycling was for nothing? Definitely not. But it did mean that the 10 things alone would not save the planet and that I had more work to do. The climate crisis can't be solved by one person alone. This is when I stopped blaming myself and began to see the issue as beyond something caused by individuals. I was 19 then, and even if I used plastic, bought fast fashion, ate meat, I definitely did not own any gas pipelines. I swear, I checked. But I still found myself carrying the weight of flash floods and hurricanes on my shoulders. I was really restless to do something, and I didn't have the privilege to stay silent because every day I ignored the heat waves, the floods would rise, and the life situation for a lot of people, like my family, would get worse. That's when I found others on the internet who also wanted to do something. And this was the start of Fridays for Future India, also what we call as FF India. We were all very young, actually, like 18, 19-year-old somethings. And we did not know a thing about organizing, but we did care immensely. Our first climate strike was actually on 15th March in 2019, and we got so much of it wrong. Our activism was whitewashed. We focused too much on who is greener, who's not greener, and we didn't have a lot of structural things in place, but we did it anyway. We expected like 15 people to show up, and all of these 15 people would be our loved ones that we had invited personally, but almost 150 people showed up. And that's when we knew that we got some things right. And since then, ours has been a journey of unlearning. Unlearning social conditioning of naming and shaming individuals, and unlearning everything we knew about environmentalism as it had been dictated to us by white people, which luckily wasn't a lot thanks to the public school system that taught us so little about it. All we knew was that we couldn't stop at refusing the straw, And we wanted FF India to be a place where people could go beyond that. I learned that although I wasn't one of the directors of the climate crisis, the directors also debuted like The Ocean on Fire earlier this year. Please go watch it, look it up if you haven't read about it. But even without my role in the climate crisis, I realized that I had a responsibility to fix this. I strongly don't believe that one person or a small group of people can fix all of this, but a collective group of people can. And that's what we did at FFF. We stopped shaming people for participating in a system that we are all forced to participate in. Existing right now is hard enough at the moment, and we're all trying to get by. Bashing each other for merely existing was not going to get us anywhere. I do appreciate if you recycle, if you compost, if you buy slow fashion, or if you do any one of the things on the 10 things to save the planet. But it is completely okay if you don't, because low-income groups can't always afford slow fashion because it is expensive, because fisherfolk, indigenous people can't go vegan because their livelihoods depend on it. And a lot of times your recycling still ends up in landfills because of how bad the waste management system is. What is sustainable for me isn't necessarily sustainable for you. We live in different vortexes of the same world, and the same rules simply don't apply. And that is partially the beauty of the climate movement. The 10 things to save the planet is often designed for medium income group people, and it excludes indigenous people or people with disabilities and low income group people who already live the most sustainable lifestyles possible. It also excludes some of the most important people in the climate conversations, and they're the fossil fuel executives. And the most sustainable thing they can do is to leave oil in the ground. Sustainability isn't and will not be a concept exclusive to one particular group of people. To quote one of my dear friends, Aisha, climate justice is not just for the rich and white, it's for absolutely everyone. Because climate and environmental justice is not about individual action, it's about collective action. To me, it's about fighting to save each other and all of humanity. And I get that these are huge words, but we're simply fighting for each other. Our ask is quite simple. We want to be able to lead lives where we don't wait in fear that our houses will be flooded each time it rains too much. We want food on our place. We want our land back from mining corporates. We want our rivers clean, and we want our oceans to not rise as much. We also just want to be able to hold our friends close and grow old with our loved ones. And this is the most simple dream anyone can have, because regardless of what we have been told, we deserve this. These things were given to us for free by the earth. The 10 things to save the planet demands to be rewritten. Environmentalism is not about guilt-tripping the ordinary citizen. Fossil fuel industry and governments spend billions of dollars to convince us that we are the reason for the climate crisis. This started from the time British Petroleum, or BP, popularized the term carbon footprint to shift their blame to us, and we took the bait. While we were busy comparing purity cards, Big Oil drilled another mine in another part of the world. Our contribution to solving the climate crisis needs to go beyond eating plant-based. We need to consciously work together, and we need to work against the people responsible for the land grabbing and against the people who are responsible for landslides. To be an environmentalist is very simple. To be an environmentalist means to ask questions, such as, where are my clothes made? Will expanding the road actually decrease the traffic? Will smoke towers improve air quality? Do dams actually benefit people? And is my government's green policies as green as they claim to be, or are they just gaslighting us? You don't need to be drinking from paper straws or living a zero waste lifestyle to be an environmentalist. The climate and environmental movement needs everyone, and it has the space for all of us. You're always welcome.